Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this council meeting of Tuesday, the 12th of December 2023, being held at the Euroa Community Conference Centre. I'm Peter Stevenson, Interim Administrator of Strathbogie Shire Council, and I will be chairing this evening's meeting, and I will explain a little more about my role shortly. We acknowledge the traditional owners we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the places we live, work and play. We recognise and respect the enduring relationship they have with their lands and waters, and we pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Today we're meeting on the lands of the Taungurung peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nation, whose sovereignty here has never been ceded. This public meeting is being streamed live via our website, Council Meetings and Minutes Strathbogie Shire. There's a link on your agenda in any case, and made available for public access on the website, along with the official minutes of this meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal or sensitive information, to any person who accesses those recordings or minutes. Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles stated in Section 9(2) of the Local Government Act 2020, and these principles are numbered 1 to 9 on page 2 of the agenda. I just outline how the meeting will work. We welcome the people in our public gallery and also those viewing this meeting through our live stream via our website. This meeting is being held in accordance with Strathbogie Shire's governance rules. If we have technical difficulties during today's meeting, which means we are unable to stream the proceedings to the public, we will continue with the meeting given the public gallery is open. If an officer has a conflict of interest in a matter, they will be asked to leave the meeting and no discussion on the matter will commence until we are sure they have done so. The person will then be contacted to rejoin the meeting after the matter has been considered and the vote concluded. Apologies and leave of absence, Acting CEO Tingay. Are there any apologies?
Yes, Chair, we have one apology for this evening's meeting from Chief Executive Officer Julie Sullivan.
Thank you, Acting CEO Tingay. Are there any disclosures of conflict of interest? Okay, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. The minutes, decisions of the ordinary meeting held on the 21st of November 2023 require confirmation. And having had a discussion with the CEO before her leave and with the acting CEO, and having watched the meeting in full on the live stream, I'm comfortable in confirming the minutes of that meeting. So I will move that. Well, I will resolve that way, that the minutes are approved. Petitions. Acting CEO Tingay, do we have any petitions to be tabled this evening?
No, Chair, there are no petitions to be tabled this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to begin with introducing myself as Strathbogie Shire Council's Interim Administrator, and I look forward to my term as Administrator. I want to quickly explain to those in tonight's gallery and people watching online how the role works. It is my role to perform all the functions, powers and duties of a councillor as set out in the Local Government Act. This means we will still have meetings like we're having tonight, and you'll be able to contact me directly to raise any concerns. It is my job to represent the interests of the Strathbogie Shire community. Council services will continue to operate as normal. This means the CEO and executive leadership team will continue to be responsible for the operations of the Shire and staffing decisions. I will not be delving into operational issues. It is not my job to do so. If anyone would like to contact me, please phone the office or visit the website for my contact details. I will set the strategic direction and allocate funding through Council's budget, and I will do that in the best interests of the Shire as a whole. Now, this council meeting is the final meeting for the year, and I would like to extend my best wishes to the community for a safe and happy festive season. Now, I say we've got lots happening. I say we because since joining the team on Wednesday, I consider myself part of the team, and it is a team. So we've got lots happening in the community during the summer months, and we encourage you to get along to support these local events. This Sunday is the Cool Schools CD launch event at the Euroa Community Cinema. It's an all-ages event featuring heaps of local bands. The CD was created as part of the annual Cool Schools program, and if you'd like to know more about that, there's lots of information available on Council's website. Another event for local young people this summer is the Violet Town Pool Party on Thursday, December 21st from 3 to 7 p.m. There'll be live music, a free sausage sizzle, Santa's elves and Christmas art. It's sure to be a great time. We're also launching a new exhibition in Artbox this week, which has recently shifted to its new location in Jacobson's Outlook, Nagambie. Did I pronounce that right? Yeah, okay, thank you. The exhibition by artist Philip Higginbotham opens on December 14 and is called Chromoscape. Each exhibition that is featured in the space has offered something new. It'll be great to see what this one will entail. The annual Pitch My Project initiative will kick off this week, giving Strathbogie Shire residents the opportunity to pitch projects for inclusion in the 2024-25 budget. Since we launched the Pitch My Project initiative, we're proud to have funded more than 25 incredible ideas from our community. Council has proposed an allocation of $300,000 for Pitch My Project as part of the 2024-25 annual budget, and each of the 6 strategic focus areas within the council plan will be allocated $50,000 of that. And this year we've made a slight change to the categories to include an infrastructure section. You can head to www.share.strathbogie.vic.gov.au to pitch your projects until 5 p.m, February 23rd, 2024. I hope everyone has a happy and safe festive season, and I look forward to joining you for the first council meeting of 2024 in February, and I say that on behalf of the team. In the meantime, if you have any questions about my appointment or if you'd like to reach out, please do not hesitate to contact me. And next year, I will run a series of pop-up sessions throughout the municipality, giving residents the opportunity to touch base and ask any questions. More information about times, dates, locations will be available in the new year. And I'll try and be as flexible as I can to cater for the needs of the community. Stay tuned on Council's website and social media pages, as well as local media, for further information on this. Now we move to public question time, and Acting CEO Tingay, are there any questions from the public this evening?
Yes, there are, Chair. We have 4 submitters for questions for tonight's meeting.
Okay, so our first questions are from Wendy Thethlitson, and I hope I did that justice, Wendy, who's not here. I don't see her in the gallery. No, she's not here. And she asks about the salami seller at Avenel. Why is he allowed to do this? Signs on the Vic Roads fences. It has been reported many times to police, Vic Roads and council, and nothing done. Why? Might I ask you to reply, please, Acting CEO, to that?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question, Wendy. Council has issued a roadside trading permit for a trader to sell food goods in Ash Street Avenel, opposite the Avenel Roadhouse. This permit allows the trader to set up and sell on the grassed area between the Hume Freeway and the Ash Street carriageway. This land is owned and managed by council. Council is aware that the trader is placing signs on the Hume Freeway, but is unable to take any action regarding the signs as they are placed on land owned and managed by the Department of Transport and Planning. Council has no authority to act in matters on Department of Transport and Planning land. Council officers have previously raised the matter with the Department of Transport and Planning representatives. Please continue to refer your queries to the Department of Transport and Planning, and Council officers will again advise the Department of Transport and Planning that the signs remain in place when the trader is operating. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Acting CEO Tingay. The next questions are from Tom Maher of Balmatin. And Tom, would you like to read your questions?
Thank you for the opportunity of asking the question in relation to the Harris Creek Road is one question. The second question is to do with the Tesla car park in Bury Street and Kirkland Avenue. But we'll take the first question in relation to Harris Creek Road. Harris Creek Road on the agenda, which is, the glasses on, the lighting is not as good as what's outside as we have today. The agenda is page 30, 11.3.2, tenders for contract number 2324/20, land slip repair treatment. There has been sent in a photo in relation to that item on Harris Creek Road. If you go back to the Violetown Village Voice for December.
Tom, can you just get to your question?
No, I am asking. I've got to give you update of the question so you're going to give the answer, which is page 23 on the Village Voice. The same upgrade, council road management. But, Mr. Administrator, the Harris Creek Road, the question is, what maintenance is carried out per year for the section of road between Horse Gully Road and Long Gully Road? What maintenance is carried out?
Okay, thanks for that, Tom, and I'll ask the Acting CEO to delegate that, or to answer that, or delegate to one of her directors for that.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So, Tom, responding to your question that you submitted, which was slightly different to the question that you've just asked this evening, I provide a general response to your questions submitted before cut-off around the damage to Harris Creek Road and why so long in repairing this road. That was your initial question, so I'll provide the answer to that. So first of all, thank you for your question. And particularly in relation to this question, we are working hard to try and manage the damage on our road network, particularly caused by the October 22 flood event. And we've been advocating strongly to the state and federal government for funding to complete the works. The operations team is managing the Seal Road network based on the following process. So we've got signs out when the defects are identified that cannot be rectified straight away, and warning signs are erected to ensure the public is aware of the hazard. Patching, so the hazard is patched as quickly as possible, and temporary repairs are managed as well as possible until funding can be prioritised to permanently repair the defect. This can unfortunately result in the need to repair the defect several times. Then obviously we've got the repair component, which is using a permanent solution and the procurement of which does take some time to ensure we get value for money responses. The damaged pavement on Harris Creek Road is being managed in the patching phase until council can award major patching contract to treat the road and many others. We anticipate that this will occur in January with works to start in February, and we've also just recently awarded the quotation for the detailed design. Council is also negotiating with the Department of Transport and Planning for funding to complete the works, and we know that it will be complex and also an expensive fix. Unfortunately, the works are dependent on funding, and therefore it may take up to another 12 months to complete. And we realise that this is an extraordinary length of time, and we understand the community will be disappointed. However, we must balance the financial impacts and works needed across our shire. The operation of the road under traffic lights, traffic signals is the safest treatment at this point in time. Thank you for your question.
Thanks, Mr. Administrator. My second question is in relation to the Tesla car park charging point, which is on Bury Street and Kirkland Avenue on the corner opposite the toilet block. What's the agreement with the Shire of Strathbogie of this operation on that piece of land of the Shire? What's the agreement? For how long? What costs incurred?
Thanks for your question, Tom. And again, I'll defer to the Chief Executive Tingay, to respond or delegate for a proper response.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, and thank you for your second question, Tom. In accordance with the agreement between Council and Tesla, we're unable to provide any details surrounding the licence agreement due to the confidentiality and publicity clauses within. So unfortunately, I'm unable to provide any detail regarding it. Thank you.
It sounds a bit like it's a zero road classification. Anyway, Mr. Administrator, thank you very much.
Thanks,
have a good
Tom.
Christmas.
You too, Tom, you and your family. So the next questions are from Noel Marr of Balmatham. And I don't think I see Noel in the gallery. So perhaps I'll read those questions and ask, unless you wanted to read them, Tom. Okay. I'll read those and then ask for a response from the Acting Chief Executive. So the first question from Noel is, why do the councillors still have working mobiles since they were stood down on 8th of the 12th, 2023, and are they still being paid? I don't think it was the 8th either, but I'll hand it over to you, Acting CEO, if you don't mind.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, yes, that's correct. It was effective the 6th. But thank you, Noel, for your question. And in response, I'd like to advise that several of the suspended councillors chose to utilise their own personal mobile phone numbers when they were elected to council. Therefore, the services will continue to work post-suspension as council does not maintain these services. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Acting CEO Tingay. Now, the second question from Noel Marr is, now the administrator is appointed, what is the cost of his salary or remuneration? Now, I don't like talking about myself, so again, I'll hand over to the Acting Chief Executive Tingay for a response.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Noel, for your second question. And in response to that question, in accordance with the terms and conditions set by the Minister for Local Government, Mr Stevenson, our interim administrator, will be remunerated $160,000 per annum for the part-time statutory role, plus superannuation and reimbursements of reasonable out-of-pocket expenses incurred in exercising the function, duties and powers of administrator. You'll see in tonight's agenda that item 11.5.2 provides further details of the administrator's appointment. Thank you, Noel.
Okay. And the next questions are from Marie Marr of Balmatham. Marie, you're not here? So, okay. Tom, would you like to read these on behalf of Marie? Okay. Well, I'll read these and then we'll direct them as required. The first one is entitled Rates. Being still 28 years and 4 weeks, full stop. The problems are still not resolved, full stop. Why is this so? Question mark. I believe the acting CEO may have had conversations about this previously. So if not, then forgive me, but I certainly am not in a position to answer that. So I'll ask I'll ask the acting CEO to do so or delegate as required.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Thank you, Marie, for your question. To help us understand better the concerns that you have expressed in your question, I ask that you refer them to myself, so I can be contacted via the email at info@strathbogie.vic.gov.au, or please make a time to come and see me, and I'd be more than happy to meet with you and to understand your concerns in more detail. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Acting CEO Tingay, and apologies for putting you on the spot there. Now, the second question I think is very similar to the first question from this evening in relation to signage on the freeway at the area of Avenel. Why does the Shire allow a trader to use the Hume to display his signs? And this has been reported to many authorities and everyone passes the buck. Yeah, I think that is essentially the same question as question number one, and that response that you gave earlier, that the acting CEO gave earlier, I guess stands. But if you want to add to that, acting CEO, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, yes, the same response to our earlier submitter. No further information to be provided. Thanks, you.
Thanks, acting CEO Tingay. All right. So we move to officer reports. And we are on page 7, planning applications received and planning applications determined between the 1st and the 30th of November 2023. Director Frampton, may we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. In accordance with Council's planning permit applications referral to Council policy, this report provides listings of all planning applications received and planning applications determined for the period of the 1st through to the 30th of November 2023. The latest available planning permit activity performance figures are also attached from the month of October 2023. Officers note that 100% of standard applications received were determined within the statutory 60-day timeframe. It's noted that there were 15 new planning applications received and 9 planning applications decided upon during the reporting period. Attachment 4 to this report provides an update on current Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal appeals where no decision has been made. Recommendations are printed on page 7 of tonight's agenda for your consideration.
Thanks, Director Frampton, and that's a good news story. 100% of decisions made within the time, and that's consistent with what the department has been doing, I understand, for quite a while. High numbers of getting those decisions done or those applications determined. So that's great news. I would move that the recommendation on page 7 becomes the resolution, and as council, I resolve that to be carried. Okay. In principle funding support, Longwood Recreation Reserve female-friendly change rooms. Director Frampton again, may we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. As a result of Victoria's withdrawal from hosting the Regional Victorian Commonwealth Games, a Regional Community Sports Infrastructure Fund was announced and was actually opened last Wednesday. At the time of writing this report, the name, funding guidelines and requirements of the grant were unconfirmed. These details have now been released and the grant round is now open. Officers have reviewed the priority projects within the municipality and have identified the Longwood Recreation Reserve Infrastructure Project to deliver female-friendly change rooms. The proposed project will deliver a prefabricated modular facility which meets the Disability Discrimination Act requirements and Netball Victoria's regulations. The project also includes a septic renewal to accommodate the additional infrastructure load. Due to the timing of the funding opportunity and the council meeting schedule, officers are seeking in-principle support for a council contribution of $150,000 if the grant application was to be successful. Officers anticipate a council co-contribution will be required to be eligible to apply as per other similar funding rounds through Sport and Recreation Victoria. If approved, these funds would be allocated in the 2024-25 capital budget to support this grant application to install female-friendly change rooms and facilities at the Longwood Recreation Reserve. In addition, Council would also support the project through in-kind project management. Council's total contribution to the project is estimated to be around $206,000. However, this is dependent on the grant eligibility, the funding ratios. If successful, this project will be delivered as part of the 2024-25 Capital Delivery Program. Recommendations can be found on page 10 of tonight's agenda for your consideration.
Thanks, Director Frampton. What I say, it's a good report, and it's an important one to get more facilities for female sporting activity. I know my experience in other places is a bit of a fight to get them. And it's good to see. It's congratulations to the organisation and those who came before me for pushing for that gender equity, and you know, thanks to the state government for putting in requirements for gender equity and disability access and those sorts of things. Yeah, it's a whole new way of, not a whole new way of thinking, but it's such an inclusive way of thinking that you wonder why they didn't think of it before. And I just think it's terrific. So the recommendation on page 10, I would resolve that is the resolution and is carried. Thank you. Goulburn Region Visitor Economy Partnership. Director Frampton, back to you again, please.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. The Victorian Government have released the Visitor Economy Partnership Framework, a new approach to regional tourism in the state of Victoria. This framework details the visitor economy partnerships will become the peak bodies for all visitor economy or tourism related matters within regions of Victoria. This report details the proposed establishment of a visitor economy partnership named Goulburn Region Tourism Incorporated for the local government areas of Greater Shepparton City Council, Strathbogie Shire Council and Mitchell Shire Council. This report details the co-design process that's been undertaken over the last 12 months with the Victorian Government, partner councils and industry to create the proposed entity and legal structure for this partnership. It seeks council's support to join Goulburn Region Tourism Incorporated and outlines the financial commitment required from council once established. The formation of Goulburn Region Tourism Incorporated will strengthen and grow the visitor economy of the region, provide an increase in opportunities to funding and programs, and lead to significant economic benefit across our municipality. Recommendations can be found on page 16 of tonight's agenda for your consideration.
Thanks, Director Frampton. You know, it said that on our own we can do little, and this Goulburn Region Visitor Economy Partnership is an example of where getting together will create better outcomes. It's like libraries, it's like a whole lot of things. If you try and go it alone, you just don't get the outcomes that you're looking for. This is a great initiative, and I'm very happy to support that recommendation to become the motion and to resolve that way. Thank you, Director Frampton. And now we're moving over to Project Collaborative Digital Innovation Information Management Pricing Update. That's a mouthful. Over to you, Acting CEO Tingay.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Earlier this year, Logicalis, through an open tender process, was selected as the preferred supplier to deliver an information management solution for the 4 lower northeastern regional councils. Post the contract signing, Logicalis advised that they had identified a material cost error in their tender submission. It is considered that the error was a genuine mistake, and that was made when transcribing the implementation costs. As detailed in the report, an impact assessment has been undertaken, as well as legal advice obtained. This report recommends that the cost increase be accepted as the pricing continues to meet best value in accordance with procurement guidelines. The cost increase can be accommodated within the existing project implementation budget. There is a recommendation on page 25 for your consideration. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Acting CEO Tingay. Just a couple of questions of clarification, if I might. If Council was to say, well, we don't like the fact that it's going to cost more money, what would the impact of that be?
Thank you.
Or likely impacts.
Thank you, and through you. It would potentially mean that there are vital parts of the project that wouldn't be able to be delivered, or potentially that we have to pay more for down the track. So I guess acknowledging that the mistake and a genuine error has been made and fixing it early will also still result in that best value for Council.
So if I might ask a further couple of questions, one at a time though. So it's going to meet best value. So that means it's even looked at again with the increased cost, it's still the best quote.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So there is a recommendation on page 25. I'm satisfied that this is something, again, it's that one of those collaborations. You can't do things on your own. So I'm satisfied that we should go ahead with that. So the recommendation becomes the motion and is carried. The recommendation on page 25. Tender for contract 23/24-20 landslip repair treatments. And I believe Director Harvey, you're in the chair or in the frame for this, please.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Stevenson. After the October floods, a number of landslips were identified of varying severity. These ones at the locations in the executive summary there, most of which were on Horse Gully Road, are generally considered to be of the minor type. We had them designed by a external consultant. That specification and design that they prepared was put to tender to have them rectified. This does not include the slip that Mr. Maher's photographs and his question was on, that was asked earlier in the meeting. This is only the minor slips. Most of them can be identified as being on the what I call the cut side of the road. So in other words, when you're driving along the road, it's on the high side of the embankment where that embankments have, as a consequence of the high rainfall event at the flood, have slipped and are providing hazards for the road network. We went out to public tender, received one tender for it. We've done an extensive evaluation on that and consultation with the DOTR, the funding body for this work, and we recommend, as on page 30, that we award that tender to the incumbent recommended there on the page.
So can I just confirm a question of clarification on page 30? In that exec summary, it talks about sections along the following roads have been identified for the rectification works, and it names Harry's Creek Road 4 times, and then it names Horse Gully and then Avenel Longwood Roads respectively. So is that 4 sections of Harry's Creek Road?
Through you, and I apologise. Yes, that is correct. The report should have stated that. So there's 4 locations along Horse Gully Road where the slips have occurred, as I described to you, i.e. on the higher side, the simple slips that we can do. We've awarded the contract for the design, as my learned colleague, Acting Chief Executive Tingay mentioned to Mr. Maher in the answer to his question, such that we can finally get that rectified once that designs come through in the new year.
Okay. All right. So the recommendation on page 30, I will resolve that, well, the recommendation becomes the resolution and is carried. Thank you, Mr. Harvey, Director Harvey. Tender for contract 23/24-22 design and construct play space and bike education track at Bicentennial Park. And I understand Director Frampton may help here. Please, could you give us a brief summary of this report?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Council is currently developing a new playground and open space strategy, and a key component of the new strategy is to identify equipment that doesn't meet regulatory requirements and outline a replacement plan. Whilst we're working through that process, Council does allocate a budget for playground replacement. This report seeks to award that tender for the works. The Council is planning to replace the existing play equipment located at Bicentennial Park in Euroa. This is the first cab off the rank, if you like, in terms of the playground in most need of a renewal. The construction of an updated play space will provide the community with a multifunctional and adaptable space that will encourage social interaction and promote health and wellbeing. Council invited tenders for this work under contract 23/24-22, advertised between the 25th of October 2023 and 24th of November 2023. At the close of this tender on the 24th of November 2023, 7 tenders were received. Upon Council approval, the successful tenderer will provide Council with options for the play equipment, and Council will conduct community consultation prior to construction to enable the community to have a say over the type of play equipment that they would like to see. In addition to this, it also incorporates a bike education track, which also came about through Council's Pitch My Project idea submissions last year, which was at the time not successful. You will find a recommendation for your review on page 36 of tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much, Director Frampton. So terrific. Play space and bike education track. Sounds great. I know Kyalla Lawn and Garden, they're featured a bit tonight. Good luck to them. The recommendation on page 36, I'm happy with that. Look forward to seeing the even if by distance, or hearing about the construction being completed. Yeah, the recommendation becomes the resolution. It's carried. I won't be here. I shouldn't be here by 30th of June, so I expect I'll be watching others deal with it. But it'd be good to hear about it and get that done. Okay, now we're moving to contracts, some works granted under delegation. Just bear with me while I catch up. Okay, and Acting CEO Tingay, may you present a brief summary, please?
Thank you, Chair. And through you, this is a regular report provided to Council to give an update on details around contracts and grants that have been awarded under delegation. Just one to note there tonight is the quick response grants. The Avenel Bowling Club popped in a submission and that's been awarded under the CEO delegation in line with our community funding model. So there is a recommendation on page 43 of the agenda for your consideration. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Might I just ask, because I like the idea of this being able to respond very quickly. So Acting CEO Tingo, how long did it take from the request to the implementation?
Thank you, and through you, Chair, I'll pass over to my colleague, Director Frampton, to provide a detailed response.
Thank you, and through you. The response was turned around. Our requirement is that it's turned around within 4 weeks. However, I understand this one was actually turned around particularly quickly in under around 10 days. So that's a really good outcome for the community.
Yeah, terrific. Small amount of money, needs being met quickly. Terrific. Great initiative. Okay, the recommendation is on page, forgive me, getting ahead of myself. The recommendation is on page 43 and the recommendation becomes a resolution that and is carried. So the recommendation on page 43, yep. So we move now to the confirmed minutes of the Strathbogie Shire Council Audit and Risk Committee, minutes of the policy review meeting held on Friday, the 6th of October, 2023, and Acting CEO Tingay. Is there anything that we should...
No, through you, Chair. This is to receive and note the confirmed minutes. This meeting in particular on the 6th of October was really to look at a number of policies, for the committee to look at a number of policies, and it's there for your noting and receiving. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Acting CEO. So the recommendation on page 46 that we note becomes the resolution that we receive and note the confirmed minutes of the Strathbogie Shire Council Audit and Risk Committee meeting of Friday, 6th October. That becomes the resolution and is carried, and as such is carried. All right. New council policy draft related party disclosures policy 2023. And I understand Interim Chief Financial Officer Roth is in the frame for this one to just give us a little bit of a summary, please.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a requirement of the Australian accounting standards, and it's about transparency in related party transactions which involve key management personnel, and they are described as Mayor and Council as CEO, directors, executive managers and managers that report directly to the CEO. So there's a requirement for disclosure of related party transactions. It's interesting that we have a lower threshold than the standard recommends, so that transactions over $10,000 would be picked up. There are some exclusions, so something in the ordinary nature of business, for example, payment of rates is not considered a related party transaction. Mayor and councillor expenses are another one. So the policy is there, and there's a recommendation on page 50, and part of that is that the policy will be on the website for people to have a look at.
Thank you, Acting CEO Roth, CFO Roth. I'm sorry there, Acting CEO. Thank you for that. And it's always important to ensure we're consistent with the Australian accounting standards, and good work there. So the recommendation, as pointed out on page, lost my page again, on page 50, becomes the resolution as such. That's carried. Future governance of Goulburn Valley Regional Library Corporation. Acting CEO Tingo, would you like to give us a brief summary here?
Thank you, Chair. The Golden Valley Regional Library Corporation was formed with an agreement between Moira, Greater Shepparton and Strathbogie Shire councils, and that was essentially to deliver library services on behalf of those three member councils. The new Local Government Act that came in 2020 requires that regional library corporations move to a new governance model, and that has to be enacted by 2030. Following an extensive investigation on possible models, this report seeks approval to continue the collaboration of library services between these three councils and also provide in-principle approval to move to a not-for-profit company limited by guarantee model. This is the preferred proposed model of the actual library board. It also provides for economies of scale, shared overheads and administration, and also associated cost savings. There is a recommendation on page 54 of the agenda for your consideration. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Acting CEO Tingay. And again, this is one of those other examples of we can do more when we pool our resources and our knowledge and so on. And I've got to say, I love libraries. So anything that's got libraries in it, I'm bookworm. The recommendation that is provided on page, you said it, page 54, now becomes the resolution and as such is carried. I should say, it does note that it's in principle.
Yes.
And of course, a future council will likely be sealing the deal. Okay. Moving to the council meetings timetable for the forthcoming year. Is there anything you want to highlight here, Acting CEO Tingay?
Through you, Chair, no, we are required to set the timetable for the next 12 months under our governance rules. So essentially the timetable is included in the agenda papers. It is proposed that the council meetings remain on the third Tuesday of the month, commencing at 6 p.m, with all meetings to be held here at the Earol Community Conference Centre at 6 p.m, with the exception of January, where there be no meeting, and the exception of the December 2024 meeting, that be brought forward a week earlier to the second Tuesday of the month.
Thanks, Acting CEO Tingay. And it should be noted that meetings that might have been, as were this year, held at the Regatta Centre in the Gambie, won't be held next year at that centre. And the rationale for that is, one, getting the technology right so that people can actually hear what's going on. And two, when council talks about saving pennies, it costs a few bob to send people down there to set up and run meetings where hardly anyone turns up. So it was felt that it wasn't, given the numbers coming, it wasn't worth continuing at the Regatta Centre at this stage, and not just the technology and the lack of people, but also building access. I know I struggled up the stairs myself when I attended before, so that'll obviously be reviewed by future councils, of course. But at this stage, we have a recommendation for next year's meeting schedule. That recommendation now becomes a resolution, as such is carried. All right, moving to the Grattan Institute report, potholes and pitfalls, how to fix local roads. Director Harvey, would you like to highlight anything from the Grattan Institute report?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I think on the 13th of November 2023, the Grattan Institute released their report on local roads funding, potholes and pitfalls, how to fix local roads The executive summary of the report provides a reasonably detailed summary of the outcomes in it. The points to note, however, are that the key findings are that the demand for local roads and the cost of maintenance to maintain them has gone up, but untied grants to councils are not keeping pace with this. Spending on transport has decreased proportionally as the role of councils has expanded. Councils, especially small rural councils such as ours, Shire of Strathbogie, cannot raise the required revenue on their own. The only other item that I'd like to bring to your attention is that the report also recommends a review of the financial assistance grants distribution model, such that funding is targeted towards less popular areas, i.e. like the Shire of Strathbogie and some of our neighbouring smaller rural shires. The recommendation is there on page 69 for your consideration. Hopefully the amount of money that they're recommending to find in the executive summary there is found and we get our fair share.
Thanks, Director Harvey. There's certainly an issue which has been heard far and wide in the state, I think, and I think it behoves particularly small rural councils with lots of roads to maintain to get involved in the advocacy program campaigns. So the recommendation on page 69 becomes the resolution as such has been carried. Moving on to, again, we get you to talk to us, Director Harvey, Council Policy Review Draft Asset Management Policy 2023, one of my favourite subjects.
Thank you.
Asset management.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. This policy was actually scheduled to be put up to the November council meeting, but the executive leadership team withdrew it from that particular meeting, principally such that we could go through and ensure that we took into account the feedback that we had been receiving from the local community in regards to how we approach our asset management work. The policy was due to be reviewed this year, and as a consequence of both the requirement in our procedures and corporate governance, but also as a consequence of receiving the feedback from the community, we have modified the policy to ensure that the safety is highlighted in the policy whilst we're reviewing and creating our framework for asset management policy, projects, etc., as we maintain all of our assets across the municipality. The recommendation is there on page 75 for your consideration. Thanks,
Director Harvey. Yeah, so it was a good report too, and thank you. Important. If you don't have a good asset management policy and you don't have a good asset management plan, you'll never hope to get in front of maintaining your assets. So yeah, it's a terrific piece of work. The recommendation on page 75 in three parts. That becomes the resolution and is as such carried. And I look forward to watching how the asset management program unfolds. Yeah, doing a lot with little, but if you don't have a plan, you know, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Doesn't matter how much you got. So good work. All right. Appointment of administrator. Oh, sorry, I've got ahead of myself to myself. Councillor, administrator committees and boards representation 2023-24. Is there anything you want to highlight here, Acting CEO Tingay?
Through you, Chair. No, obviously this is a report to firstly confirm the council/administrator representation on the boards and committees as attached to the agenda, and then also identify that representation as well. So the recommendation is there for you on page 81 of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting CEO Tingo. And might I say that given there's one of me at this stage, there may well be, whether there's a panel or I'm replaced by one other, at some point there'll be a council again. But there's probably no way that I could get across the ground that 7 councillors could. I acknowledge that straight up. So I'm going to have to be quite judicious in how I do use my time, but I will endeavour to be a representative of the organisation, at least at the most essential, in the most essential forums first, and where there's anything left of me elsewhere. So the recommendation on page 81, I'm comfortable with. I'm comfortable that it becomes a resolution and as such is carried. Appointment of administrator, and I'll let you speak to this, Acting CEO Tingo.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to note the appointment of an administrator to Strathbogie Shire Council, and that announcement came on the 5th of December. The announcement was made by the Minister for Local Government, the Honourable Melissa Horne, who had announced that Strathbogie Shire Council be suspended for the remainder of its term and appointed administrator. In this case, our administrator is Mr. Peter Stevenson, who has also been our previous municipal monitor. Attached within the report when Peter had his municipal monitor hat on, is his final report for public information. The suspension is under section 257 of the Local Government Act, and it applies to all elected members of the Strathbogie Shire Council. And as I said, whilst the announcement came on the 5th of December, it did take effect on Wednesday, the 6th of January, and runs through until,
December.
6th December, my apologies.
Otherwise, go home for a few weeks.
Until the next council election that occurs in October 2024. The council and councillors were provided with an opportunity to consider the monitor's report and provide a response to the Minister for Local Government. The Minister made the decision to suspend the council after considering the responses received from the council and also individual councillors. Our administrator, Mr. Peter Stevenson, commenced his appointment on the 6th of December, and he's appointed until the 6th of March 2024, both days inclusive, until an ongoing administrator is appointed for the council. As highlighted throughout the night, Administrator Stevenson will provide support and continuity to Council's operations, and he will be constituted to act as the Council and will perform all of its functions, powers and duties. As highlighted earlier this evening, in accordance with the terms and conditions set out by the Minister for Local Government, Mr. Stevenson will be remunerated $160,000 per annum for the part-time statutory role, plus superannuation and reimbursements of reasonable out-of-pocket expenses occurred in exercising the functions, powers and duties of the administrator role. A bit of background about Administrator Stevenson. He has held senior positions in a range of organisations, including government, community services, higher education and the health sector. He is a former councillor and mayor of the Darebin City Council. As I highlighted previously, he was appointed in March 2023 as the second municipal monitor for Strathbogie Shire, and he's also been previously been a municipal monitor for the South Gippsland Shire Council and also at the Royal City of Wangaratta. Chair, there is a recommendation to note the appointment of an administrator commencing on page 84 of tonight's agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Acting CEO Tingay. And before I make a decision on this, I just want to say, for those watching, they might think, oh, it's a bit strange, somebody voting on their own appointment and their own remuneration. But it should be said, it is only to note what the Minister has already done. Just in case people get the idea that there's a conflict here, because there clearly can't be. Either that, unless I say I'm not staying. So I just wanted to point that out, because it's a strange circumstance where there's only one person in the room who gets to make the decisions. So that said, the recommendation of noting on page 84 becomes the resolution, or page 84 and 85, there's three parts, becomes the resolution, and as such is carried. Okay, we move now to the monthly report, performance report. And Acting CEO Tingay, would you like to provide some highlights there?
Thank you, Chair. So another busy month with building activity, obviously planning activity within our municipality, which is great to see. We've had a number of requests coming in, particularly once again for planning and also statutory services as well. So we're continuing to churn through those requests as they come in. We are continuing to get, and as we've highlighted tonight, a number of requests, particularly with our road assets, particularly around maintenance. So please be patient. Please be patient with us, as there's a lot of requests that are coming in. So once again a positive month with lots happening in the municipality. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Acting CEO Tingay. Did note a lot of requests for things to be done. It's a busy, for a small shire, it's a busy shire, and lots to do and lots getting done. With that said, the recommendation on page 86 that the report be accepted becomes a resolution, and as such is carried. Acting CEO, do you have any notices of motion?
No, Chair, there are no notices of motion.
In the same vein, do we have any notices of rescission?
No, Chair, there are no notices of rescission.
Do we have any urgent business?
No, Chair, there is also no urgent business.
And do we have any confidential business?
No, Chair, there is also no confidential business.
Okay, well, we determined earlier that the schedule for monthly meetings of Strathbogie Shire Council in 2024 will kick off on 20 February 2024, noting there's no meeting in January. So I'll still be here on 20 February, so we look forward to seeing you then. And being no further business, the meeting closed at 7:04. Does that look all right to you? Okay, thanks everyone.